and I was going to ask you about this with the educational system, is that the educational system thinks everybody to think uniform, right? Everybody thinks the same way. There's the same answers to the questions, right? Whatever the teacher says is correct. Whatever the educational system says is correct, right? And it's important that we youth look at that and understand, like, is everything what that he's saying or the teacher's saying or, you know, the school system is saying is correct? You know, you have to look at it and analyze that, because when we're young, we're the most malleable, right? When you're
Yeah.
older, right? People know that when older people generally, when they have their beliefs, even if they're wrong, they can never change it, right? They're very set in their beliefs. When we're young, we're very easily changeable. We can, change our beliefs. We can change, what we think is right and stuff. So it's very important that when we're young, we identify what is correct and what is important so that we don't get, led off on the wrong path, you know?
Yeah, but if you look um, at it in a different way, you could say that the education system is the way it is because, like you said, since we're younger, we're more malleable, we're more easier to, I wouldn't say manipulate, but to believe in adults and what it is right and believe that the teacher is right and whatever. So I want to pose a question. Do you think it would be beneficial for governments to manipulate a younger generation through the school system to believe what they want them to believe, to help them create the ideology that they want them to have? So in the future, when they become adults, it's easier for the government to do certain things and those things to be accepted because that's how they learned when they were kids.
No, totally. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what's happening in the world today, right? We
Yeah.
have to what we're teaching our kids in school, because when they're 4, 5, 6, like whatever enters their mind is going to stay there for the rest of their life. It's going to influence them. Like, sure, maybe up to 2 years they don't really remember much and they don't have such a high influence, but after a certain age, everything they see constitute what they believe, right?
Yeah.
They're used to seeing something that isn't right on a normal basis, that will become right with them just because they see it every day, right? So we have to become very careful with that. Sure, when you get a little bit older, you really start questioning, right? But even if you're 10, 11, 12, you're still very immature, you're still very malleable, right? And so, you know, in a hypothetical situation, if your teacher taught you 2 + 2 = 5 in school, for an entire year, when you get out of that year, somebody asks you what's 2.2 + 2, you're going to say 5, even though it's completely false, right? So there's an example to show you that what teachers say is really, really important. So it's very important that, we choose the people who instruct the youth, right, very specifically and very carefully.
But
And
then
contents that we teach them also need to be revised and need to be taught in a sensible way.
you also got to look that a lot of young people, like you said, between the ages of 10 to 12 and even younger or a bit older, they have access to social media. You see 7-year-olds scrolling through TikTok and seeing things they shouldn't be seeing at that age, you know, or through YouTube and things like that. There's a lot of bad things that help our youth be the way that they are so that in the future it's easier for them, you know? That's
Yeah.
why you have a lot of controversial figures where when they pop up on the internet saying things and saying the truth in some harsh ways sometimes, but speaking the truth and being their own person, independent, and sharing the way they see things and demonstrate that they have a critical thinking mind, that they analyze things and they see what the actual truth is and they come out and speak the truth. And then they get canceled, they get, you stop hearing about them, things happen, they get criticized.
Mhm.
But some people are just have the courage to see through things and speak publicly. But then if they do that, they are ridiculed publicly. So I would say to an extent, do you think it's even worth to be able to have this skill, be able to speak it to more people and then be ridiculed by the government and other things like that just because they don't want the truth to get out?
For sure, the government. Well, I don't know. It depends what you're talking about. Like whether the government obviously the government passes laws to influence, for example, what is in the school system. That is for sure. That's where the, you know, as much as we might not like it, you know, the political part of society is important, you know, because they're the ones who decide those kind of things, you know. So we have to know that and be aware of that, right? Um, but like you said, right? You said, oh, it's dangerous for people to be critical, right? In schools and where they speak out and they're bullied and blah 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 blah. Well, that's exactly the problem, right? It literally includes um, promotes tribalism, right? It's like if you're an outlier, you've got to conform to us. You know, you have to because you're wrong, whatever. So that's the thing with tribalism, right? Is like if you even want to be different, if you just want to believe in your own things, you're not allowed to. It's wrong to believe in something different. It's not like, oh, this is right, but if you want to believe what you want, you can. You know, that's one thing is saying, look, we don't agree with you. You can believe what you want, right? Another thing is saying, look, we believe what we believe. You believe what you believe, but you have to believe what we believe. Otherwise, you can't go to school, or you're weird, or you're dumb, or you know, you're whatever, and you're bullied and for that. And that's, you know, not fair, and it doesn't promote anything positive in society. Because if we look at, like, this is a little bit off topic, but if we look at a lot of success in our world, it's from people who think of things differently. You know, Albert Einstein didn't just think of gravity the way Newton did. He didn't say, you know, Newton already thought of this, whatever. Like, that's set in stone. There's nothing more you can learn about gravity. No, he he thought about, he analyzed the theory, and he made his own theory that eventually helped, you know, the world become what it is today. Right? That's really
Yeah.
important.
I would say I definitely agree with you. And to be honest, I encourage people to be different, to think differently, because that's how the world evolves. That's how the world grows. If you didn't have somebody to come up with the concept of the car, we would still be riding horses, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or the airplane. We wouldn't even be flying if it wasn't for the person that invented the first airplane. So to be able to be different is actually something that's positive, in my opinion. I like to be different than other people. Makes me more interesting. It helps me just. I like being different. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a skill. It's something that's good and positive because then you do things differently than everybody. You can come up with different things that at some point could be a worldwide, could become a worldwide change. You know, could become something that would be applicable worldwide. You know, so I encourage people to be different. I encourage people to be curious, to, you know, pursue what they want to pursue, to think differently, to challenge authority, not to a sense, challenge authority in a sense where, let me clarify this real quick. Challenge authority in a way where you ask questions, you know, you don't take things, for example, from the teacher, you don't take things at face value. Ask why. Why is it like this? Make them explain to you. Seek answers, seek conclusions, seek solutions. You know, be
Yeah, and that's
curious
right.
and be creative as well, you know. And you know, we need creative people. We need different people because that's how diseases get cured. Because somebody sees things differently, be like, wait, pause for a second. This could be done differently like this, and maybe you could cure this, you know? You never know. If we didn't have Mark Zuckerberg to create Facebook, if we didn't have Steve Jobs creating Apple or or Bill Gates, if we didn't have these people, they were different and they were seen as different. But at the end, they made really big changes to the world. They brought us technology, brought us different things. And
Yeah.
you never know who's going to be the next Steve Jobs. You never know who's going to be the next Bill Gates.
Mm-hmm.
You never know who's going to be the next Albert Einstein or the new Newton. So I encourage people to be different. I encourage people to study, to be different, and to seek things and be creative. Try to do things in a different way. Maybe you'll have a different outcome. It's a positive thing. It's not negative. Don't you know, conform yourself to what society wants and thinks. Be different. Be you.
Yeah. And I think that's where the government part that you were talking was coming, that that you were talking about comes in. It's like they don't want you to criticize what they decide, you know. So
Yeah.
they're kind of like, you know what, we gotta put people all believing in one thing, you know, when they're growing up and when they're raised in schools, so that when they grow up and they're adults and things, they don't come here and criticize our decisions, right? They just follow, because that's what they want, right? Just a bunch of people who follow them whenever they give an order, like, oh, everybody's got to get vaccinated, everybody's got to do this, this is illegal, this is legal. And it creates a generation of people that are just like, okay, you say this and it's right. There's no afterthoughts, there's no anything. And that's part of the culture today of not thinking for yourself. If the society says this is right, that's right. There's no other option. You know what I mean? You can't believe anything else because you're weird, you're whatever. They have so many names today to insult you and to call you, classify you, right? So you're not welcomed if you're different.
I agree with you. But to be honest, I don't care to conform with what society thinks and wants. I want to be different. I want to have different perspectives. I want to seek different things because that's how people grow, and that's how the world grows. That's how we become better. And if people are shamed for having a different perspective, for seeing things differently, then society is messed up from within. And it's to we need to start a reform or something to change the way people see things and to you know help society grow and accept that being different and having different perspectives and not conforming to society is actually a positive thing. It's not something that's negative. Because in the long run, someone that's different, that's considered being different, like the black sheep, at some point, that black sheep becomes so successful that everybody else will be like, oh yeah, I used to know him. Yeah, yeah, we were all so nice to him and stuff. But in reality, we were all mean and shamed him and other things. So I just encourage, man, be different, have a critical thinking mindset, and pursue the truth, pursue different things, and be creative. It's important.